Hey everyone, it's impossible to scroll through social media right now without seeing the back and forth commentary about how somebody's ruining Star Wars. And with the last episode or the last episodes of The Acolyte, I have to say, nobody's ruining Star Wars, even if it's not great. And here's why. This kind of angst-filled conversation has existed between fans and creators for nearly 50 years. While fans are known for exuberance and hyperbole, straight up hate and cruelty isn't part of fandom. But calling a studio to account for a poor production and weak writing choices is legitimate criticism from anyone, including fans. It's also important to note that non-fan viewers and for-profit social media and press channels do take a different approach to criticizing Star Wars, Disney, and anything else that will generate clicks for cash. So I'm always very skeptical when there's anything that's just too overblown in social media, and you should be too. It's time to start thinking for ourselves. Lucasfilm has been aware of the complex relationship between Star Wars and fandom since 1976. However, I really don't think Disney, some of its staff and actors, or even the general media understand Star Wars fandom. And I think that's part of the problem. So given the recent Acolyte episodes and response, I thought I'd share some light with an open letter to Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, and anyone in the media who needs to hear this about fandom. So, dear Disney, I'm a member of original Star Wars fandom dating back to 1977 when my mom took me and my sister to see Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. I watched Luke and Leia swing across the missing bridge while the stormtroopers were on one side shooting at them as they escaped. It was a magical moment seeing Luke think outside the box and solve that problem and find a way across an uncrossable chasm. I've always considered that scene as a metaphor for fandom because it speaks to the can-do spirit of the fans and the get-it-done attitude of George Lucas's team that resonates so strongly with fandom. Fans have always been in active communication with Star Wars creators from the start about the fine details and the lore within the films, even before the original film was released. Nothing's changed, except that we now have access to digital communication channels that boost our signals to a global audience. Fans are a detailed group of people who love digging into lore, the science, and the history of the stories within the series. And these are things that the studio and their staff really have to get right, or they're going to get called out. So when we look at new series like The Acolyte or Andor, or some of the new films like Revenge of the Sith or Rogue One, it is in our nature to scrutinize the details and unpack the lore to see where and how these new stories fit into the Star Wars universe. What's odd is that as a normal practice of things, when it comes to a series or a show like this, that is just so big and all-encompassing, every studio has a story Bible that they use when creating new stories to insert into these worlds, whether for TV, film, games, or books. Facts and details matter. Truth matters. Fans work hard to let go of the small details and the errors and to convince others that they are not that big of a deal as long as the story and the characters and the critical lore components are well written. And well written really is the key factor here. It has to be a good story in order for us to gloss over any details that don't work quite right. If you have a story that's not well written and the details aren't right and the lore is off, you've got a mess on your hands. And that's kind of where we are with this current series. Looking back to 1976, Gary Kurtz, Charles Lippincott, and Mark Hamill made their way to Kansas City to attend Midamericon, the 34th annual World Science Fiction Convention, otherwise known as Worldcon, where they gave a presentation on this quirky new science fiction film called Star Wars. All three men were fans of science fiction. They were passionate about making the film, and they went out of their way to go to where fans gathered to talk with them about this story with the audience who they hoped would embrace the movie once it was released into theaters. Here's the opening clip from the Q&A, which is posted on the Fanac YouTube channel.
Yes. Sure, nobody has any questions.
Princess's costume. Have you ever seen any amazing covers?
This is a G-rated movie.
We got to remember women's liberation at this time. We can't we aren't sexually selling females or males in this film. Exploitation, sexual exploitation.
After all, she's part of the royal family.
Yes.
I don't want to throw ground glass into this, but are you people actually intending to lay on us a cliched plot again? There's marvelous special effects, but where the hell is the plot in any of these science fiction movies? This one is ridiculous. Come on.
Space opera.
This depends on what you mean by plot. This is an action adventure story. It's set in outer space, just like John Carter of Mars or Flash Gordon or any other action adventure. It's not a science-oriented story.
Fans asked some hard questions about the lack of a plot, the soft science, the absence of sexy princess costumes, and more. And these guys, they didn't get upset about it. They just answered the questions. They just moved forward and addressed it. So when I see headlines like this from the Mary Sue, that nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans do, or this headline posted on MSN, Acolyte doesn't deserve this stupid criticism from Star Wars fans, or this line from an article at Inverse, there's no room for nuance when it comes to the Acolyte. You either stand with the series, flaws and all, or you're irrevocably against it. These kinds of comments are not helpful, nor are they accurate when dealing with actual Star Wars fans. For example, not everyone who watches my videos agrees with me, but we communicate with each other. We share ideas, correcting mistakes, highlighting issues, and enjoying the exchange that we're able to share. That's Star Wars fandom. That's what we do. We talk to each other. These divisive media articles, they're not fandom. That's not who we are. If we boil down the problem, it would be that many new Disney studio writers and executives either don't understand Star Wars or its fan base, or perhaps they just look at Star Wars as an IP that they can write, rewrite, or reboot. And that just isn't possible. It's not that simple. The other problem is that the press and the media love a good fight because it generates clicks and ad revenue. And so they use words that are there to either kind of start a fight or to keep a fight going. Don't get me wrong, fans aren't shy about pointing out flaws, and they're not always nice about it. Not even back in 1976, and we are not shy about it today, and we won't be shy about it tomorrow. And if we haven't ruined Star Wars over the last 5 decades, I'm pretty sure we aren't going to ruin it now by asking today's Disney executives the same kind of hard questions that we brought up during the 1976 Q&A at Midamericon. The difference between then and now is that the studio responds to fans a little differently. Imagine if the media was present back in 1976. The headlines would have read, "Fans kill Star Wars before a film even releases." The more things change, the more they stayed the same. The one universal truth about Star Wars fans is that we love talking about Star Wars and we love talking to each other. Fans provide the creative and financial energy that a franchise needs to stay viable. We are incredibly vocal for our fan group, incredibly smart because we love science fiction and science, and incredibly stubborn because, after all, we stuck around the cinematic franchise for over 15 years between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace. And we are a bit obsessive, yes, which is why we know when writers take shortcuts or deviate from canon or just skim the surface of a story. We take it seriously because we feel a sense of ownership for Star Wars, and we have sustained this story for nearly 50 years. We know that new fans are needed, new stories are required, and new creative perspectives are essential to sustaining the Star Wars universe. But that doesn't mean that we have to settle for poorly told stories, surface level characters, and incorrect lore. When Disney creates a new series, we want to love it. That's the baseline. We want to love it. However, when it's clear that a series is struggling with character development and lore, fans will let Disney know. It's kind of our job. We are not asking for fan service, but we do have minimum storytelling expectations, and that's okay because once a story exists, audience expectations naturally surface. And I think Gary Kurtz hits it on the head when he says this.
The problem with any established thing, Flash Gordon, John Carter, Doc Smith, anything, is that everybody has their own idea of what it should be like. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but it's much more difficult.
Having expectations and high standards of storytellers, it's not toxic. Just like telling diverse stories within a storyverse is not toxic. The whole toxicity drama is fodder to heighten audience engagement and generate ad revenue. It's also entirely possible to love Star Wars without loving Disney, without loving Kathleen Kennedy and its executives who seem to put more value on revenue generation than in robust storytelling by cutting episodes so short that they don't complete story arcs and leave a tangible sense of shallowness within each episode. And despite the criticism, I actually don't think Disney is all that woke. They're a profit-driven corporation with audience acquisition numbers that force their content creators and marketing teams to attract untapped viewers by stirring up controversy to increase revenue. What they are failing to understand is that grinding up their existing fan base to use as fertilizer to feed into their P.T. Barnum circus mentality of all press is good press is franchise suicide. So Disney, please take a moment to pause and really look at those upcoming scripts to make sure that the characters have depth, that the story connects to the lore, and that the bulk of the details are right. And it's fine to include a wide range of characters. That's how it's always been in Star Wars. That's nothing new. Include new societies and new creatures who fill out the Star Wars universe, but make sure those choices have a purpose within the story. That's all we're asking for. There are plenty of examples of your series that actually do this very, very well. Look back at those examples and make sure that the creatives that you have on the job actually engage with the text, understand the fans, and develop stories that fit and have purpose within the universe. Because when you don't, you are actually not doing your new fans any good because you are making it really hard for them to talk positively about the show or even admit that they like it when you are setting up the story to fail in the eyes of existing fans. All right. Thanks for sticking with me on this video, and feel free to make comments, positive or negative, below, because that is how fandom works. I will read them all and look forward to chatting with you about them in the comments. And whether you agree with me or not, if you got this far, I would love it if you gave this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement. Thanks, everyone, and I will talk to you again soon. In the meantime, I'll see you later.